Have you ever wondered how a company like Netflix managed to scale at such a proportion in let's say in a decade or two? And actually, how did it do that? Well, many think that the secret of Netflix is just about the revenue model used to scale media and actually to use a sort of an on-demand model. This is in part true, but there is much more to it. Like when Netflix grew its business model, it transitioned into a platform first, so offering as much content as possible licensed from third parties, to then become a media company, meaning that starting 2013, the company started to actually develop its own shows and its own so-called Netflix originals. The company really changed the content model at a base of the business model that the company operated. How? Well, if you look at the old content model, this was primarily an ad-supported model where you had, for instance, a TV series premiere, which would run a single episode of the series, and it would be shot. It would be launched on a weekly basis. This is the old model where the TV or the cinema, but the TV primarily was at the center stage. The model instead that Netflix really created and made a huge difference was a model where you had no premiere, you had released all series at once, and you created the so-called binge watching. So you gave users all they wanted all at once, they could watch it all, and you created this sort of feeling that they wanted more. That's the logic, no more of a TV network, but of a platform, of a subscription-based platform where you actually have, again, no premiere. The company would not invest on a single episode like a TV does, which is usually the pilot, so too much risk on a single episode. Instead, the company, based on the data that it has about the users at international level, would actually invest much more of a single episode as a complete series, and release the whole episode on an international platform. So on a global level, this would be released, not anymore on national television. So again, just to recap, Netflix changed the whole content model. It moved from an ad-supported model to a subscription-based model. It moved from a model which was TV-centric to a model which is more like on-demand platform-centric, and from a model that invested a lot on a single episode, or the so-called pilot, to assess whether the series would be successful, which would be launched on a single nation and on a weekly basis, to a completely different model where the whole series, at least like the first season of the series, would be the investment for the company, and before the company, of course, would commit to a much more expensive investment on the whole series. The platform has a lot of data about users on what they like, and the release of the series happened internationally, so not anymore on a national basis, giving it much more and much wider distribution, and also more chances to succeed, because, for instance, the season might not be successful in one market, but instead might become successful in the short term in another market, and this would trigger a sort of chain reaction where other markets might follow suit. And this created the so-called binge watching. So binge watching is not just about model of consumption of content, it's also an integrated way for the company to offer and to operate a new business model.